Okay, let's dive in. I want you to picture this for a moment. The absolutely stunning misty hills of Meghalaya. Think, these lush green valleys, waterfalls kind of hidden in the fog, and those incredible living root bridges. They look like something straight out of a fantasy movie.
Exactly. It sounds like the perfect setting for a romantic honeymoon, doesn't it? A fresh start for a newly married couple.
That's precisely what Raja and Sonam Raghuvanshi, a young couple from Indore, were expecting. They headed there for beauty, peace, relaxation after their wedding. They were really looking forward to exploring the Sora region specifically.
But tragically, that beautiful picture it shattered. For Raja, anyway. What started as this dream trip turned into a really disturbing story. Disappearance, murder.
Yeah, and a plot that twisted and turned in ways you wouldn't expect, involving betrayal and, well, some frankly shocking planning, all unfolding far from those peaceful hills.
It's a really complex and honestly deeply sad case. We've been digging into the police reports, local accounts, family statements, trying to piece it all together.
So our mission here is to lay out the facts as we understand them, look at the timeline, the people involved, and really try to make sense of what happened based on the information available.
Right. Let's start with the couple themselves.
Okay, so we have Raja Raghuvanshi. He was 29, a businessman from Indore, part of his family's transport company, Raghuvanshi Transport, described as, diligent, responsible.
And Sonam Raghuvanshi, 24, also from Indore. She was involved in her family's business too, furniture sheets.
And how they met, it was quite traditional, wasn't it? An arranged marriage.
That's right. Set up through a matrimonial directory as Samaj Pariche Pustika back in October 2024.
They got married pretty quickly after, on May 11th, 2025, and just 12 days later, they were off to Meghalaya for their honeymoon.
And Meghalaya, as you said, it's not like choosing Goa or Manali, which are usually crowded. It's picked for that raw, untouched natural beauty. So Sora, the living root bridges, the waterfalls. It's quite specific.
And interestingly, looking back at the accounts, the trip was apparently Sonam's idea. Raja wasn't too keen on traveling so soon after the wedding, but she pushed for it. She even booked the flights.
Yes, and that flight booking detail, it became quite significant later. She booked the tickets to Guwahati, their entry point, but crucially, she didn't book any return tickets back to Indore.
Even though Raja had apparently told his mother they'd only be gone for about, 6 or 7 days?
Exactly. So no return flights booked. It definitely raises a question looking back.
Yeah.
Suggests maybe the return wasn't planned, at least not for both of them.
Okay, so they arrive in Meghalaya. They check into the Balaji homestay in Nongriat village on May 22nd. They rent a scooter, planning to explore Sora. Seems normal enough up to this point.
Right. But then comes May 23rd. That's the day everything changed. The day they vanished.
Their last confirmed sighting was checking out of that homestay. They were heading towards Malakiat village. That's the starting point for that famous trek, isn't it? The one with 3,000 steps down to the root bridges.
That's the one. Pretty challenging trek. And this is where we get a key piece of information from a local guide named Albert Plod.
What did he see?
He saw them around 10 a.m., starting down those steps.
Yeah.
But, importantly, they weren't alone. Albert noticed 3 other men with them. Strangers, chatting amongst themselves in Hindi. Sonam was apparently walking a bit behind the group.
Okay, and did Albert interact with them?
He did.
Yeah.
He offered his services as a guide. It's a tricky path. But they declined, said they had someone else apparently, and then they just disappeared down the trail.
Wow. Okay. So when did the alarm bells really start ringing?
The next day, May 24th, their rented scooter was found, just abandoned at a cafe on the main road between Shillong and Sora.
And back in Indore, Raj's family couldn't reach them.
Right. They raised the alarm, and that's what kicked off the official search operation by the Meghalaya police.
And searching that area must be incredibly difficult. You're talking rugged terrain, dense forest, deep gorges.
Extremely challenging. During that initial search, though, they found some really disturbing items. A smashed mobile phone, for one, then a blood-stained machete, and a black raincoat.
A raincoat?
Yeah, a large one, size 3XL. Later, police reviewed the CCTV from the homestay, and they were able to link that raincoat to Sonam. She was seen wearing it.
So, grim clues indeed, pointing towards something violent.
Absolutely. And then, 10 days after they went missing on June 2nd, the worst fears were confirmed. Raja's body was discovered.
Where was he found?
In a deep gorge near Weisawdong Falls, another beautiful waterfall spot in that area. He was identified by a tattoo on his arm.
And the autopsy confirmed it wasn't an accident.
No, definitely not. The report from Negri MSS showed 2 sharp force wounds to his head, front and back. And that suspected murder weapon, the machete, was found nearby.
Initially, there was some thought it might be robbery, right? Because his gold ring and neck chain were missing.
That was an early consideration, yes. But as the investigation deepened, led by this special investigation team, the SIT, under SP Vizek Siam, their thinking shifted.
How so?
Well, the nature of the wounds, the location, the items found, that sighting with the 3 unidentified men, it just didn't add up to a random robbery. It felt personal, targeted.
And then came the twist that just turned everything completely on its head.
The biggest bombshell. While Sonam was still officially listed as missing, the focus of this intense search, she suddenly reappeared on June 9th.
But not in Meghalaya.
Not even close. She was over 1,200 kilometers away. At a dhaba, like a roadside diner, in Ghazipur, Uttar Pradesh.
And she went to the police there.
She surrendered at the Nanganj police station. The dhaba owner, Sahil Yadav, actually said she seemed mentally disturbed when she showed up. But the truly shocking part was the police announcement that followed.
Which was?
According to their investigation, Sonam wasn't a victim at all. She was allegedly a co-conspirator in her own husband's murder.
Wow. What? And who else was involved? Who is the alleged mastermind?
Police pointed to a young man from Indore, 21-year-old Raj Kushwaha. He worked as an accountant at Sonam's family's business.
Okay. And the connection?
Investigators allege he was Sonam's boyfriend.
Her boyfriend. So that's the alleged motive.
That's what the police case hinges on. Raj apparently stayed back in Indore the whole time, keeping up his normal routine, while allegedly pulling the strings from nearly 2,000 kilometers away.
And those 3 men seen with him on the trail?
They were arrested too, all young guys from Madhya Pradesh. Akash Rajput, 19. Vishal Singh Chauhan, 22. And Anand Kurmi, 21. Police noted none of them had prior criminal records.
So this wasn't a hardened criminal gang. This was something else. How did this alleged plan even come together?
Police believe the conspiracy was hatched months earlier, back in Indore, in February 2025. That's well before the wedding even took place.
And the motive, again, was Sonam's alleged affair with Raj and feeling pressured into the marriage with Raja.
That's the alleged scenario. The plan, investigators say, was chillingly simple. Kill Raja during the honeymoon.
But it wasn't simple in execution, apparently. You mentioned incompetence earlier.
Right. This is where it gets almost bizarre. Police sources suggest they actually tried to carry out the murder 3 times before they succeeded in Meghalaya. 3 failed attempts.
3. Where did they try before?
The initial plan was supposedly for Guwahati in Assam. That's where Raja and Sonam first landed on May 19th. When that attempt failed, Sonam allegedly suggested shifting the location first to Shillong and then to the more remote Sora region.
Okay, so they regrouped. The alleged killers, those 3 young men, arrived in Shillong on May 22nd.
Correct. And the 4th, tragically successful attempt happened the very next day, May 23rd. They met Raja and Sonam at Nongriat to join them on that trek towards Weisawdong Falls.
And the attack itself?
Police estimated it happened in a tight window, between 2:0 and 2:18 p.m. The 3 men allegedly attacked Raja with that machete they'd bought in Assam.
And Sonam's alleged role during the attack.
According to police statements, she was allegedly present. And investigators claim she even instructed the men to hit him.
That's incredibly disturbing. And after the attack,
they allegedly pushed Raja's body into that deep gorge near the waterfall,
thinking it wouldn't be found for a long time.
Exactly. Their alleged calculation was maybe 1 or 2 months. Plenty of time, they thought, for Sonam to get back home, establish an alibi, play the grieving missing wife.
But the police found the body much faster, on June 2nd. That must have thrown a huge wrench in their plans.
A massive one.
Yeah.
Sonam then allegedly activated her escape plan, which police say Raj provided. It involved using a burqa as a disguise.
And she started that long journey back.
Yeah, a really complex route. Taxi out of Meghalaya to Guwahati, then a bus to Siliguri, another bus to Patna, a train to Lucknow, finally getting back to Indore around May 25th.
And she met up with Raj there.
Allegedly, yes. Stayed with him in a rented flat in the Dowasnaka area for about 3 days.
While the search was still on for her back in Meghalaya.
Precisely. And as the police investigation intensified after finding Raj's body, the group allegedly got desperate. Police mentioned some really chilling backup plans they apparently considered.
Like what?
Horrific ideas. Like, allegedly, finding another woman, murdering her, and burning the body to make it look like Sonam. Or staging Sonam drowning in a river. Thankfully, none of those happened.
Thank goodness. So what was Raj's final instruction?
According to police, he told Sonam to leave Indore again, surfaced somewhere like Siliguri, and claimed she'd been abducted.
But the police were already closing in by then.
Yes, the Meghalaya SIT teams were moving fast. They weren't just looking in Meghalaya. On June 8th, teams arrived in UP and MP, working undercover in plain clothes.
And they made an arrest.
They did. The first key arrest was Akash Rajput, caught in Lalitpur, UP.
And that triggered panic.
Big time. Raj allegedly panicked when he heard Akash was arrested. He knew the net was tightening. That's supposedly when he told Sonam to make that call to her family, fabricating the abduction story.
Which led to her appearance at the Dhaba in Ghazipur on June 9th.
Exactly. Crying, asking to use the phone, telling her brother she'd been kidnapped. But the Dhaba owner, Sahil Yadav, sensed something was off.
Good for him. He called the police.
He did. And Sonam then surrendered at the Nanganj police station.
And the Meghalaya police brought everyone back to Shillong.
Yes, they took custody, transported them back. A court granted 8 days custody on June 11th for interrogation.
And during those interrogations? Confessions?
Police reported that both Sonam and Raj allegedly confessed to the conspiracy and their parts in it.
But Sonam's family disputes this.
Strongly. Her father, Devi Singh, is adamant she's innocent. He's demanding a CBI probe, claiming the Meghalaya police framed her. So that adds another layer of complexity.
Of course. Then Raj's family, just unimaginable pain. His sister's question is heartbreaking. Why not just elope if you love someone else? Why this?
It's a question that hangs heavy over this whole tragedy.
The impact went far beyond Indore, didn't it? It hit Meghalaya's image quite hard, at least initially.
It really did. Social media blew up. Unfortunately, some people used it to paint the entire Northeast as unsafe, warning tourists off. Which is, of course, unfair.
And locals pushed back.
Yes, rightly pointing out the alleged perpetrators were outsiders. Minister Alexander Lalu Hek spoke out against attempts to malign the state's image.
And the chief minister.
Conrad Sangma praised the police, highlighted their efficiency in cracking Operation Honeymoon, as he called it, in just 7 days after the body was found.
This incident also seemed to reignite the debate about the Inner Line Permit, or ILP, in Meghalaya.
It definitely did. The ILP is that system in some Northeast states regulating outsiders' entry. There were protests in Shillong, with residents linking this crime to the need for ILP to protect the state's identity. The Assembly passed a resolution for it in 2019, but it's still pending with the central government.
Meanwhile, back in Indore, the reactions were intense. Burning photos, reported assaults.
Emotions ran very high. And that detail about Raj Kushwaha allegedly driving people to Raj's funeral, it's just chilling, isn't it? The alleged double life.
Absolutely chilling. So where does the case stand now?
The police are continuing their work forensics, crime scene reconstruction, putting together the charge sheet. They're confident and aim to file it within the 90-day limit.
But it's not fully closed, especially with the father pushing for a CBI probe.
Definitely not closed yet. There are still legal processes to unfold.
Looking back at everything we've discussed, what are some key takeaways? That detail about the one-way tickets really stands out.
It does. A small detail that, in hindsight, seems like such a massive red flag. Trusting intuition about unusual travel plans, perhaps.
And the sheer alleged incompetence, mixed with the brutality, multiple failed attempts, frantic backup plans. It really underscores that crime doesn't pay, especially when it seems so chaotically planned and executed.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a criminal mastermind operation, based on these reports. It also highlights the devastating impact of deception and lack of communication in relationships, maybe fueled by external pressures like arranged marriage expectations conflicting with personal desires. It doesn't excuse anything, but it's part of the complex picture.
And we have to acknowledge the Meghalaya police's quick work here. Operation Honeymoon being solved so fast is significant.
Absolutely. And the actions of ordinary people like Albert Plade, the guide, and Sahil Yadav, the Dhaba owner, their alertness was crucial.
It's vital, too, to reiterate that this terrible event, allegedly carried out by outsiders, doesn't define Meghalaya. Its beauty and hospitality remain.
Precisely. This was an isolated tragedy, not reflective of the place or its people.
It's just such a disturbing narrative arc. From a honeymoon in paradise to this intricate web of alleged betrayal, murder, and a desperate cover-up, it really makes you stop and think.
How do things spiral so drastically? How does a life or multiple lives end up in such a dark, complex plot that seems almost unbelievable?
Maybe think about how quickly, in our connected age, a local tragedy explodes into a national story. How it affects perceptions of safety, impacts tourism, even stirs up long-standing political debates thousands of kilometers away. It shows how interconnected everything is, doesn't it?